When Emily and Ryan first moved into Maplewood Estates, they thought they'd found the perfect neighborhood. Wide streets, manicured lawns, and a homeowners association that promised peace and order. But peace was the last thing they'd find here. On their first night, the neighborhood felt unusually quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you lean in, wondering what's missing. The next morning, they found their first HOA notice. Not about paint colors or lawn care, but about curtains. All curtains must remain closed after 11:11 p.m. Ryan laughed it off, but Emily felt a chill. Why that exact time, she whispered. That night, as 11:11 approached, Emily peeked through the curtains. At first, the street looked empty, then she noticed them. 3 neighbors, just standing there. Not moving. Not speaking. Just, staring at her window. Ryan pulled the curtains shut. "It's nothing," he said. But Emily couldn't shake the image. Why were they watching? The next day, another notice. Noise levels must remain below 30 decibels after dark. Emily frowned. That night, just past 3 a.m., a knock at their door. Slow. Hollow. Repeating. Ryan opened the door, but no one was there. Just a fresh HOA notice pinned to the doorframe. The notice read, "You were seen. Keep the curtains closed." Emily's hands shook. Ryan, they were outside again. Ryan forced a smile, but his eyes betrayed him. He'd seen them too. Later that night, Ryan checked the security cameras. What he saw made his stomach drop. Dozens of neighbors, all standing in perfect silence. Staring directly at their house. And then, one by one, they tilted their heads. In perfect unison. That night, as David turned off the lights, a soft knock echoed from the front door. Too faint to be urgent, too deliberate to be random. When he opened it, the porch was empty. Only the HOA notice sat pinned to the doorframe. Curtains must remain closed after 11:11 p.m. Sarah whispered, "Why that time? Who even makes rules like this?" But David just crumpled the notice, uneasy. At 11:10 p.m., Sarah peeked through the curtains. Dozens of figures stood perfectly still across the street, staring at their house. She gasped and yanked the curtains shut. The second the clock hit 11:11, silence. Not a single sound outside. The next morning, a letter slid under their door, "Thank you for complying. The HOA is pleased." David stormed outside to confront someone, anyone, but the street was empty, every house shuttered. That evening, Sarah noticed their neighbors' trash cans were perfectly aligned, every lid shut at the same angle. At 3 a.m., the doorbell rang. When David checked the camera feed, the screen showed only static, except for one shadow, moving closer. The bell chimed again. When David opened the door, no one stood there, only another notice. This time it read, "The rules keep you safe." Sarah whispered, "Safe from what?" But neither of them wanted to know the answer. The following night, they heard scratching, inside the walls. When David peeled back the wallpaper, he froze. Behind it were hundreds of small, watching eyes, painted, or alive, he couldn't tell. Sarah screamed and tore the wallpaper back down. The eyes vanished. The wall looked normal again. And waiting on the floor beneath the torn wallpaper, another HOA notice, "Do not remove the coverings." At midnight, the couple sees every house on the street suddenly turn their lights off, except one. A window glows faintly red, as if lit by fire. The couple whispers, "What if it's just a party?" But when they zoom in, silhouettes move unnaturally, as if twitching in unison. Suddenly, every silhouette snaps their heads toward the couple's window, as if they knew they were watching. The lights vanish. The street is silent. But a soft scratching begins at their front door. They open the peephole, nothing there. But when they step back, a child's handprint appears on the glass. They scream and stumble back, only to hear a knock, from inside the house. They check every room, nothing. Until they find muddy footprints leading upstairs. At the top of the stairs, a child's toy sits, rocking on its own. Suddenly, the doll's head snaps toward them, eyes glowing faintly red. The couple bolts into their bedroom, slamming the door. Silence. Then, a voice whispers their names. They turn on every light, but the bulbs flicker, then burst one by one. The house plunges into black. From the hallway, slow footsteps approach. The figure stops at the door. The handle begins to turn, slowly. The door slams open. But the hallway is empty. On the floor lies a single HOA notice. Written in red ink, "No watching after midnight." Laura notices the Smiths' house, once lively with kids, is dark and lifeless. A foreclosure sign stands, but fresh toys are scattered on the lawn. John whispers, "But we saw them yesterday. Their kids were playing outside." Laura stares at the toys, they look brand new, untouched by weather. That night, they hear laughter outside. Looking through the blinds, they see shadows moving across the lawn, but no one's there. John opens the door to confront them, but the yard is empty. The laughter cuts off instantly, leaving only silence. The next morning, the Smiths' house is freshly painted, lawn trimmed, as if the family never existed. Laura gasps, "John, look." Their mailbox is filled with HOA newsletters, each warning, "Do not break the rules." A new family moves in overnight, smiling too wide, waving too long. Their eyes never blink. At 3 a.m., Laura sees lights on in their house. The new family is sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the wall. John whispers, "They're not real." The family's heads all turn in unison toward the window, though their faces remain blank. The lights in their own home flicker. John feels a presence behind him, but when he turns, no one's there. Laura discovers another letter under their door. It reads, "You're next." Terrified, they try to call the police, but the line only plays the HOA anthem on repeat. John smashes the phone, but the anthem keeps playing, echoing through the house. Suddenly, every house on the block turns its lights on at once, all windows glowing, every neighbor staring out. Laura clutches John's hand, "We have to leave." But as they step outside, every neighbor begins walking toward them, in silence. Emily shines her flashlight into the archive room. Stacks of yellowed files spill out, all marked with names of families who once lived here, but no records of them leaving. A thick binder falls open. Inside are black and white photos of neighborhood gatherings, but each one shows residents standing stiff, eyes blank, faces lifeless. Emily whispers, "These people, they never left." Mark finds a death certificate inside, but it's dated decades after the person's supposed move-out. A sudden crash upstairs. The couple freezes. The archive door begins to creak shut, on its own. Locked inside, they turn and see a wall mural, painted years ago, showing a creature beneath the neighborhood, with residents kneeling around it. Emily gasps, covering her mouth. Mark says, "This isn't just a HOA. It's a cult." A thud echoes below. The floor vibrates, as if something massive stirs beneath them. Files topple from shelves, scattering across the floor. One folder slides toward Emily, as if pulled by invisible hands. Inside the folder is a map of the neighborhood, with symbols drawn on certain homes. Many of those homes belong to neighbors who've moved away. They've been sacrificing families, one by one. His voice shakes as chanting grows louder. Suddenly, a light bulb overhead bursts. The room plunges into darkness, leaving only their flashlight. In the beam of light, Emily sees movement, pale hands pressing from behind the shelves, as if something is trying to crawl out. Emily screams, dropping the map. Mark grabs her hand, "We have to get out. Now." They pull at the locked door, pounding, screaming. From the darkness behind them, voices whisper their names. Just as the door bursts open, they stumble into the night air, only to see dozens of neighbors standing silently outside, waiting for them. The couple sneaks into the HOA clubhouse at midnight. The air is thick with incense and the sound of low chanting. Shadows flicker against the walls as if alive. At the center of the room sits the HOA president, cloaked, his face hidden. Before him, a book bound in something that doesn't look like leather. The couple crouches behind overturned chairs, whispering, but the wife gasps when she sees their neighbor, Mrs. Lang, tied to a chair in the center of the circle. The president raises his hands. Tonight, we feed the silence below. The floor vibrates, a low rumble from beneath the clubhouse. The couple exchanges terrified looks. "We have to stop this," whispers the husband, pulling out his phone, but the screen flickers and dies. The chanting grows louder. The air seems to thicken, harder to breathe. The shadows no longer follow the light, they move on their own. Suddenly, Mrs. Lang's head snaps back. She screams, but the sound isn't human, it's layered, like dozens of voices crying out at once. The couple stumbles backward, knocking over a candle. The flame sputters, casting monstrous shadows that crawl toward them. The president slams the book shut. The floor splits open, a gaping crack that breathes hot air into the room. From the crack, a sound emerges, not of this world. A low growl mixed with thousands of whispers. The couple covers their ears in horror. The cult begins to chant louder, forming a circle around the abyss. One by one,